Hey folks, joining Lone Oak Survival. So welcome back to the SHTF Pack List. Today we're going to talk about Illumination. Stick around. Alright folks, like I said in the beginning, we're talking about Illumination. Illumination to me in this situation is going to be your white light source, your thermal, and some kind of night vision. Whether it's going to be a PVS 14 or some kind of night vision scope, if you will. That's meant for nighttime hunting. Sure, whatever. Thermal, obviously it's going to be the expensive FLIR to, your run-of-the-mill kind of thermomonocle used for hunting again, and you guys kind of notice the trend here. I'll explain that in a second. And your white light, so your flashlight. Not an ever ready flashlight, because those things are never ready. So, that being said, let's start there with white light. What do I carry on me for white light? Now, white light source to me is my EDC flashlight, which is a Streamlight ProTac 1L 1AA. I think I got that right. Sweet, I did. Okay, so that being said, I did like Streamlight. They're known to be durable, rugged, reliable. So, okay, sure. When I bought this was $40. Don't know what the price is nowadays, guys, but I bought it last year, $40. So it's been running with me for about a year, using it on and off on the farm, in the woods, trapping, doing bushcrafty stuff, going to work, whatever, guys. It's been with me every single day for about a year. Well, I shouldn't say every single day, but about every single day. Excuse me. Now, that being said, why do I like this flashlight so much? Well, the size of it, first off, is pretty compelling to me. It's very compact. It's roughly about 3.5, 4 inches in length, because I don't remember exactly. The diameter is roughly half inch to 3/4 of an inch, somewhere in diameter. Forgive me if I'm wrong about this, guys. But the biggest thing that I really, really like about this flashlight is the fact that I can take a double A, out of here, take a triple A, throw up my flashlight, put it back together, it's going to work. I can take a CR123, do the same thing, put it in here, it's going to work. How does that work? Well, there's a special plunger that you guys probably can't see in there very well. I'll try to take a picture and throw it up on the screen. And what that does is it actually changes the level to where the battery is inside of the actual flashlight itself, so it actually still makes connection and it turns on. So we have the bright, we have the strobe. I'm going to see if I can get to the low. Right there's the low. Granted, it's still daylight out, so it's kind of hard to see. But you have the three options there as well. I like the fact that also it has a tail switch, meaning that I can half press this, it turns on. I like that a lot, especially if I'm trying to be sneaky deaky for whatever reason it is. Nothing nefarious, trust me. But I'm out here, I'm just going to scan something real quick. I can do that, have off instead of doing the audible click where you can hear it. Now, granted, the audible click on this whole thing is not very loud. You can still use it for hunting purposes or get to your stand or whatever it's going to be, or your ground blind, one of the two. It's not very bad. Now, in a self-defense situation, not too bad either. But I do like the half press or the tail switch, guys. That's what I really like about it. Along with that, I will say I like this thing that I call the S hook. Probably got the wrong name, but whatever, forgive me. But the S hook, guys, I like that. Why? Because it sits inside your pocket. Whether it can be your jacket on the outside, inside, jean pocket, inside, outside, wherever it's going to be, guys. It rides in there nice and snug. It's very comfortable. It's pretty lightweight, so you're not going to notice the weight. It's not going to bog you down. It's not very cumbersome. But the other thing, too, the S hook, the flip side is if I had, say, my baseball cap on that I wear sometimes in my videos, guys, I can shove that on there. Pretty snug fit. It will move a little bit if you're like whipping your head back and forth like a weirdo. But if you're just kind of normally turning your head, it does stay in place pretty well. That being said, if you've had this, on and off for a long time, I'd probably get some duct tape just to put up there. Not saying the retention of this clip is bad, it's just safety in my mind. Anyways, so that being said, though, that way you can sit up there, you have a headlamp. Works pretty good, guys. You might have to shift your hat a little bit, but then you have two hands to use whatever you're trying to do in the dark. So there's that, white light. How far does the beam go on high? Well, from my experience out here in the woods, fresh batteries, doesn't matter if it's a CR123, AAA, AA, it's going to get you about 100 meters, 100 yards, give or take. Yeah, I know there's like a 9-yard difference in there, but whatever. 100-meter yard distance right there. It's going to work pretty good. You can be able to see what you're looking at with good detail. You can identify what you're looking at. Like, oh, that's a tree, or oh, that's a coyote, or oh, that's my dog, or whatever, right? You can see. I'm low out in the woods, or I guess rather yet, I was kind of staying alongside the road outside my house, and I was looking down the next power pole down the road, and that was 100 meters away. Then there's one roughly about another 100 meters away from that one. I would say 50 yards was a good I could definitely see something or someone there, hands down, no big deal. 50 to 75, depending on the conditions outside. It was rather snowing when I was doing that. But either way, though, guys, that's kind of the distance there. Again, these were $40 when I bought it. Don't know what it is nowadays, guys. I would personally buy this again. You know, I actually have two of these because I like them so much. Now, moving on, I did not bring my actual hunting equipment out here with me, so I have to do a little show and tell, some pictures or whatever. But I do have little videos I'll throw up for you guys to see the thermal and the night vision, stuff like that. So thermal, guys, what I use, and I already did a review about this on my channel, like, what, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that now. But anyways, the Leopold Tracker 2, okay, it's a 206 by 156, has, I think, 6 or 7 different color patterns you can choose from, and it zooms in by 7. Granted, with this certain monocle or thermal monocle, it does get a little blocky the more you zoom in, so be aware of that. Now, why I like thermal though, guys, as a good option illumination. Okay, so let's put little thinking caps on here. Okay, it's grid down, right? You know, it's COG. People are just in it for themselves, wherever it's going to be. People have the capability of getting night vision. Some people are buying that more in mass because it's getting cheaper, more available to the average buyer. Now, if you are going to run around with some kind of IR light on through looking through your scope or wherever it's going to be, right? Or possibly even using like a floodlight on the, I can't remember what that device is called. We'll try to throw a picture too. But basically, it throws an IR light that's a floodlight, and if you have night vision on and your buddies have night vision on, you can see it. Well, the problem is anybody else who has night vision, true night vision, and can detect IR light, they're going to see it as well. And that's the other thing too. It doesn't have to be like another PVS 14 to see the IR light. It could be a camera, for crap's sake. A security camera can see IR light. That's what it uses at night. So if you're out there flashing an IR light on your rifle, or you're just using it freehand or whatever, and you have the PVS 14 like this to kind of help illuminate things better in the dark woods, well, someone can detect, hey, there's somebody outside. That could be a good or bad situation depending on how it goes. Now, back to thermal though. Sorry, kind of went a little track there. The pros of thermal though, depending on the, I can't read my situation, you can see through some smoke, some fog, some snow, more so if somebody's hiding in vegetation compared to night vision, guys. So there's that ability right there. It's really nice. My Leopold tracker, excuse me. The video is going to be in green. I'm probably going to do another video too as well. Hopefully I'll remember to throw it up there as well. The high-low one right there actually has enough color differentiation where you can actually see and walk just fine. Now, the depth of the situation, say like, oh, that tree's, I can tell right now during the day, this tree behind the camera is like 8 feet from me. And the thermal, it might look like it's 5 to 7 feet away, somewhere around there, at least with my personal opinion experience. You just kind of tend to get used to that stuff. Like, okay, this is going to be closer or farther away from me, depending on what the object is. Now, this is the biggest thing to me, okay? Thermal is not detectable by other devices. It's just not. I mean, obviously, if it's like a big, like, FLIR camera or something like that, and it's throwing off heat, obviously it's going to be detected by a thermal. But what I mean by that is I could be sitting out here in the dark, right, and somebody could be walking down my trail, whatever, with a PVS 14 and, like, you know, the floodlight or whatever, all cool guy operated stuff. But I can see you 100 yards away with my thermal. I know you're coming, okay? Now, granted, that's vice versa with the night vision. Now, going back to that, it's not detectable by others initially. It can detect and track where someone has been for a short amount of time, depending on the ambient temperature, the weather, what's going on. So basically, if I touch this tree back here with my hand, and I just like grabbed it with my bare hand or even possibly thin gloved hand, my handprint will be right there. If I stood in a spot in the snow for a long time, my tracks are going to be visible at least to that point where I'm standing, and say I move off like 50 yards that way or whatever, you can see that I was standing right here. That's kind of the cool thing about thermal as well. Plus, if someone's bleeding or something is bleeding, excuse me, and you're tracking it that way, so you shot a deer at dusk and you're tracking it through the dark, it can detect that warm blood as long as it remains warm. So yes, it can detect / track something as long as the evidence it's leaving behind or the trail it's leaving behind is still warm, quite literally. Now, number 4, it can work in daylight and night. Unlike night vision, where you cannot use it if you have strictly just a night vision scope, or PVS 14, for example, you can't really use those during the day at all. Dusk or low light situations, sure, you could. But at the same time, though, you can't during the day. So if your scope is all set up, it's awesome, but it's strictly night vision, you're kind of screwed in that situation unless you do some funky stuff. Now, cons. Cons. Image distortion. Like I said, the more you zoom in with at least the Leupold Tracker 2, and I know there's way better technology than what I have personally out there. But in general, thermal, the more you zoom in on something, the more distorted it gets. Okay, so there's that as well. This is the other thing too here. It's harder to, I want to see if I actually, nope, I didn't write this down. This is a point though. It's harder to distinguish friend from foe, right? So if, say, my buddy Jeff went through the woods, came back this way, is coming this way, and say it's, grid down, shit's a fan, whatever it is, I'm like, oh, who's that person? I got to see who it is. I can't identify with my naked eyes or my glass or anything like that. Who is that? And I don't know that's him. It's really, really hard to tell with thermal unless they have a certain type of weapon system or there's like a hand signal you do or whatever, right? That's the only really way. Now, night vision you can, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, the other thing too, it's harder to navigate terrain compared to actual true night vision. Again, the PVS 14. That is true. It is harder to navigate, at least from my experience, with thermal versus actual night. So, that's thermal in a nutshell. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. It cannot see through glass. That's a big downside. If you're scouting out an area like, okay, is this building abandoned? Is it safe to approach it? You cannot see glass or through glass, unlike you can see with night vision in most situations. Unless you have like the IR light on the window, then the glass reflects it, you can't see through it. Now, this thing too, we're going down to night vision now. I use a Sightmark Wraith. I don't remember the exact specs of the scope itself, guys, forgive me, but there are two out there, at least to my knowledge, at least when I bought it, there was. I was kind of deciding between. There was a battery cell one, as in it's replaceable. You just in the field, take out some batteries from a package, throw it in there, scope turns on. I bought the rechargeable one because I figured this scope's pretty heavy, and that's kind of thing too with night vision. It's heavier in general than and the thermal optics. Excuse me, can't talk. But it's generally heavier than your thermal. So kind of keep that into play there. Again, do what's best for you. Now, it does zoom in, all this fun stuff, guys. I don't like it because most hunting scopes for night vision, at least to my knowledge, they have a IR light that hangs off the side. So it's kind of awkward to hold. Plus, now you have, okay, I got to carry batteries for this thing and also my night vision scope. If they take the same batteries, okay, cool. You just got to carry more of those batteries. Now, sitting there having to recharge it takes roughly, I think, from dead battery to full charge is roughly 4 hours ish, at least with mine. So, kind of something to keep in mind as well. It does last a very long time in between charges because, well, I'm not really using it all the time, but I should probably sit there and just leave it on all day and night and see how long it actually lasts and just check it on every 15 minutes or so. Now, pros though of night vision, okay, you can see in greater detail of a target, I'll say, right? So if same situation, my buddy Jeff's coming this way, I hear somebody moving around over there, I take my scope, I look up, okay, it's my buddy Jeff. By scope, I mean like point the rifle at him. Like even if like a night vision binocular or monocle, something like that. It's like, who is that? Oh, it's Jeff. Okay, I can see it's him. You can see in greater detail, as you guys can see in the videos. Now, anyways, you can see through some glass, depending on the thickness of it. You can see through some glass, or if it's frosted or not. So there's that. But how much frosted glass you guys really run across, anyways, right? So now that I said that, I'm in a situation where like I can't see it's frosted. Guarantee it. That's my luck. Now, the glass is affected by if it's short wavelength versus long wavelength night vision as well. So I'm not going to really get into that whole thing. So cons of the whole situation. Camo is often still hard to detect. It is. If I'm all camied up, all gilded up and stuff like that, and I'm like against a bush, and you're like looking at me from 100 yards away, unless you train a lot, which I encourage you guys to be doing, unless you guys train a lot with your friends to detect a human shape or element in vegetation with night vision on, it's very hard for the layperson to sit there and go, oh, yep, there they are. Or, hey, I think I see movement over there. That's probably them right there. Or it could be the wind or an animal, whatever it's going to be. So it's still hard to detect camouflage. Now, projecting signature to others. We already talked about this, okay? So I have an IR light on my scope. Anybody with another night vision scope or PVS 14 or a drone or whatever it's going to be, because if you've been paying attention to Ukraine, you guys see how crazy drones are getting nowadays. God dang kids in their PlayStations nowadays. But my thing is this, though, in a serious manner, drones, they can detect your IR light a lot better than they can detect you high underneath a tree or in a bush or whatever with the thermal going, there's the drone. So keep that in mind as well. Now you can only use it at night. I already pointed this out as well. That's kind of my bad there, guys. But that's kind of the end of my notes there as well. You can only really use that stuff at night. So if you have a night vision scope or electronic scope on your rifle, but it's only meant for night, like you didn't pay attention to that little detail in the little paperwork that you get these scopes with, like, oh, this is only for night, and you're like, oh, I can use it during the day. No, you cannot. And that would suck, guys. It really, really would. So just offhanded, that's what I really got for you guys. I know it's probably not the best video out there. Again, these videos are they're meant to be generalized, 30,000 foot overview of the situation or the topic. And they're just kind of really meant to get you guys thinking in your heads like, okay, Jordan was talking about this. That's kind of a good point. Or he's kind of an idiot for saying this. I disagree with that. Either way, though, guys, you got some kind of education or point, put it down in the comment section, guys. We're all here to learn, guys. I'm not going to judge you for saying something, whatever it's going to be. Okay, I can handle some criticism, or if you guys want to go, hey, good point, thanks, dude. Well, thank you guys for watching. Seriously, it really encouraged me to keep making these videos. So, as always, guys, stay frosty, prep up. Yeah, bless.